Have you ever thought about why Elon Musk jumped into such a vast field of space science? You'll answer, due to his dreams. But he could also fulfill his dream by working under any space agency. There are a lot of secrets related to the life of Elon Musk and his space agency, and that's why I'm here, to answer all of your questions. Like this one. There's also a question, what is the real reason that SpaceX needed to build the super heavy rocket Starship? What is the purpose of SpaceX Starship? Well, let's try to find out. We are back with another amazing video. Here today, we're going to know the real reason behind the build of the SpaceX Starship. Let's get into the video right away. As everyone knows, the founding ethos of Elon Musk's private spaceflight company, SpaceX, was to make life multiplanetary. He says that settling humans on other worlds such as Mars could preserve civilization if Earth were to experience a cataclysm, such as a large asteroid impact. According to Musk, history is going to bifurcate along two directions. One path is we stay on Earth forever, and then there will be some eventual extinction event. And the alternative is to become a spacefaring civilization and a multiplanetary species, which I hope you would agree is the right way to go. We have often heard the SpaceX founder has often spoken about his dream of building cities on Mars. He believes that settlements would need large numbers of people in order to become self-sustaining. Realizing this dream requires a vehicle that's up to the task, and Starship is a rocket and spacecraft combination that could ferry more than 100 people at a time to the Red Planet. The system is designed to be fully and rapidly reusable. Being fully reusable means the principal hardware elements are not discarded in the sea or allowed to burn up, as happens with some other launch systems, but return to the ground so they can be flown again. Rapid reusability means that after coming back from space, Starship can be refilled with propellant and be ready to launch again in a short period of time, like an aircraft. This reduces the cost of the whole enterprise, and the construction of more and more aircrafts will not be required. Let's see the specifications of the Starship now. At launch, the spacecraft, called Starship, will sit atop a rocket called SUPERHEAVY. The combined system will stand 120 meters or 394 feet tall and is also referred to as Starship. Let's take the spacecraft first. With its nose cone and landing fins, the stainless steel vehicle resembles the rocket ships from the golden age of science fiction. At the rear of the 50-meter-long craft are 6 highly efficient RAPTOR engines developed over the course of a decade by SpaceX. The combustion takes place in stages, and the engine's design cuts the amount of propellant that's wasted. Towards the middle of the vehicle are the propellant tanks. These feed liquid methane, whose chemical composition is CH4, and liquid oxygen, O2, to the Raptors. Methane is the fuel, and oxygen acts as an oxidizer, a chemical that makes the fuel burn. The combination is dubbed Methalox. Why, this name sounds like any candy. Leaving jokes aside, the choice of fuel is unusual for rocket engines, but methane can generate plenty of thrust. It's also a prudent choice in light of Musk's design on Mars. The SpaceX founder says that CH4 could be synthesized from Martian subsurface water and from atmospheric carbon dioxide using a chemical process known as the Sabatier reaction. Refueling Starship for the return trip to Earth using Martian resources would confer a level of self-sufficiency, making journeys both more feasible and cost-effective. Towards the front of the spacecraft, which is sometimes referred to as the upper stage, is a huge payload compartment that will be able to haul large cargo or people to destinations in deep space. Now let's turn to the rocket, because without a rocket, spacecrafts are meaningless. Measuring 70 meters or 230 feet long, SuperHeavy will be filled with 3,400 tons or 6.8 million pounds of cryogenic Methalox. Cryogenic Methalox is always in a chilled state, which makes the rocket cool. It will be powered by around 32 RAPTOR engines, but this specification has changed several times and should achieve more than 70 meganewtons, or 16 million pounds, of maximum thrust. It should be able to lift at least 100 tons of payload, and possibly as much as 150 tons to low Earth orbit. This will make SuperHeavy more powerful than the immense Saturn V launcher used for the Apollo moon missions in the 1960s and 70s. Now, let's see its launching and refilling position. As it ascends from the launch pad, the combined Starship system will begin to pitch over towards the intended orbit. When the upper stage separates in space, SuperHeavy flips over while falling back towards Earth. As it descends, SuperHeavy will deploy steel structures called grid fins, shaped a bit like potato waffles, from the sides of the booster. These will help steer the rocket stage back towards its launch pad so it can be flown again. SpaceX has an ambitious plan to then catch the falling booster using its launch tower. This tower provides engineers and crew members with with access to the spacecraft and rocket while they are sitting on the pad before launch. A pair of steel arms will extend out from the launch tower. The grid fins will then take the load as the spent booster falls onto these arms. The tower has been dubbed Mechazilla because of its resemblance to a creature from the Godzilla movies. Meanwhile, the Starship upper stage could be inserted into a parking orbit after separation, allowing it to be refilled with propellant. If you just fly Starship to orbit and don't do any refilling, it's pretty good. You'll get 150 tons to low Earth orbit and have no fuel to go anywhere else. If you send up tankers and refill in orbit, you could refill the tanks all the way up to the top and get 150 tons of payload all the way to Mars. To refuel, the spacecraft would dock or mate with another Starship already circling the Earth that acts solely as a propellant depot. For long-haul trips to Mars and back, which could take up to 9 months each way, Musk is looking to install around 40 cabins in the payload area near the front of the upper stage. In an interview, Musk said, "You could conceivably have 5 or 6 people per cabin if you really wanted to crowd people in, but I think mostly we would expect to see 2 or 3 people per cabin, and so nominally about 100 people per flight to Mars." The payload area would also host common areas, storage space, a galley, and a shelter where people could gather to shield from solar storms where the sun belches out harmful charged particles into space. Starship will also play a key role in NASA's Artemis program, which aims to establish a long-term human presence on the moon. In April 2021, the U.S. Space Agency awarded SpaceX with a $2.89 billion contract to develop Starship into a lander capable of delivering astronauts to the lunar surface this decade. The version tailored for Artemis flights would not possess the heat shield or flaps that are necessary for a return journey to Earth. Instead, the Starship human landing system would remain in space after its initial launch from Earth, so that it could eventually be used for multiple trips between lunar orbit and the moon's surface. The uncrewed or cargo version of Starship features a payload bay that opens up like the mouth of a crocodile. This would allow it to be used for launching satellites. SpaceX says the huge payload capacity opens up possibilities for new types of robotic science missions, including telescopes larger than the James Webb Observatory, the forthcoming successor to Hubble. Elon Musk's SpaceX stacked a Starship prototype rocket on top of a Super Heavy rocket booster for the first time, giving the look at the scale of the combined nearly 400-foot-tall vehicle, which is really massive. Musk's presentation was vivid in detailing his vision of humanity's interplanetary future. He was more circumspect about the operational details of the massive SpaceX rocket Starship that is central to those and other goals. The spacecraft must overcome numerous technical and regulatory hurdles before it can fly to orbit or fulfill a contract worth billions of dollars to land NASA astronauts on the moon, let alone colonize the red planet. At a conference, when Musk was asked what he thought of witnessing the milestone at the company's facility, he responded simply, "Dreams come true." Hence, by this statement of Musk, you can see his desperation related to the project. Alright everyone, this brings us to the end of our video. If you liked the video, be sure to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay updated.